Jesus has now finished talking to those people who had gathered around him on that gentle rise in the terrain close to the Sea of Galilee. Jesus has finished speaking those words to us. And we recall some of the things he said to us, some of those things to which he called us. He told us that we were not only not to kill, but we are not even to be angry with our brother. Our attitudes, our motives are to be pure in addition to our actions. He told us that our righteousness is to exceed that of the scribes and Pharisees. He told us not to return evil for evil, but rather to return good for evil. That we are to love our enemy as well as our friend. He told us we are not to put on a religious show in order to be praised by men, that we are to find our assurance not from the mouths of men, but from God alone. He told us that we are to serve God and not mammon, that we are to be motivated not by what we will gain in terms of material wealth and approval of men, but rather we are to play the game to God and to God alone. He told us not to look out there and see the sins and mistakes of other men, but rather we should look deeply and seriously into our own lives and be aware of our own mistakes and shortcomings. As we look back at these instructions Jesus gives to us, these hard directives for living, how can any man avoid the question, what difference does it make? How much easier to live life differently from the way in which Jesus calls us to live it? What difference does it make? Why should I put out all this effort? Why should I attempt to control myself in this way? What in the end does it accomplish? What difference does it make? Well, there are some who would lead us to believe that if we do follow Jesus and what Jesus teaches, that it will bring success to us. This is the reason why we should do it. It'll bring success. But the sheep's clothing occasionally does an extremely poor job camouflaging the ravenous wolf. And immediately we feel that this is true with the one who promises us success if we simply follow the teachings of Jesus. Or maybe the promise of good health and good fortune if we follow the teachings of Jesus. Simply follow in his footsteps. God will bless you, God will take care of you, God will reward you with good health and good fortune. Again, we don't have to look far to perceive that this is nothing but hogwash. It is ridiculous to think that Christians will be rewarded with better health and better fortune. For we are told by Jesus himself that the sun shines on the just and on the unjust, and the rain falls on the just and the unjust. Well, maybe you'll have tranquility and peace of mind. This is peddled by a lot of people. And yet I have the feeling that the more sensitive a Christian a person is, the more he has in inner turmoil, the more his mind and his heart is continually torn, so sensitive to what is in the world and round about him, his life is anything but tranquil. Certainly I feel that not a very sound case could be made for the idea that Jesus himself lived a tranquil life with peace of mind. Well, what does it offer then? What is offered to us if we follow Jesus? If we obey his commandments, if we live by his directives? Where is the payoff? What difference does it make whether I take his teaching seriously? How am I any better off than the next person? I have the same failures in my business and in my personal life as my neighbor. I have the same sicknesses as my neighbor. I have to take sleeping pills and pills the same way as my neighbor. What difference does it make then whether or not I take seriously these teachings of Jesus? Well, Jesus must have been anticipating these questions to come at the end of his talk. And to respond to these questions, he draws upon some experiences which were very familiar to the people of Israel. One of the most dangerous pastimes which a visitor to Israel can engage in is that of taking a leisurely, innocent little walk up a wadi, the gorge dividing a hillside, cutting up through a hillside, sloping upward to the higher country. An innocent walk up the sandy bed of the wadi, enjoying the scenery, searching for rocks. For unbeknown to the person several miles away, a thunderstorm can be releasing torrents of water which in a few minutes could come rushing down the wadi, sweeping everything in its path with no possibility of escape. Well, the people of Israel, to whom Jesus was speaking, knew that they could build a house on the sand, such as they would find in a wadi. They could put as many locks on the door as they wanted to. They could build the walls any thickness they wanted to. They could secure the house 100% against any burglar. And yet, when the torrents of water came sweeping down across the sands, the whole house would be swept up in a matter of seconds, completely destroyed. It seems that Jesus is pointing up the possibility, which is always there, of the earth opening up and swallowing a person. And this is what often does happen to persons, is it not? How often the world simply falls apart for a person. He who feels that his life is the most secure life there is in the world. He has made preparations, he has taken into account all eventualities, and yet all of a sudden something happens which causes this person's world completely to disintegrate. And he feels that the earth has literally opened up and that there is no ground upon which he can stand. There's nothing but a bottomless pit, and the person falls into it. Then Jesus tells us about another building, a building built on rock. All of the external circumstances, the same as before, beat upon this house. The water comes in torrents, the winds come, but this house stands secure. It remains. It is not washed away. The external circumstances do not conquer this house, for it is grounded upon something which not only has nice appearances, but also has a stability which cannot be destroyed, which cannot be washed away. And so, this is what Jesus has said to us. This is what he has offered. He has offered a way of life which, if we choose it, will give us a foundation which will endure, which will not vanish, which will not let us fall into the chasm. We may not have found this security. We may not have found this strength. We may still feel very weak. We may still feel that the earth is continually opening up, threatening to swallow us. And yet Jesus does seem to say that it is possible for us, however, to build upon that which is secure. It is possible for us to find, as Martin Luther said, a bulwark never failing, a helper amidst the flood of mortal ills prevailing. It is possible that even though this world with devil's fill should threaten to undo us, it is possible for us not to fear, knowing that God himself will triumph over all that threatens us. But is it true? Is it true? Does this person offering this foundation to us really have the authority, the credentials to offer this to us? those who heard him speak on that day by the Sea of Galilee said that he spoke as one who did have authority, not as the scribes and Pharisees, but as one who had the right, every right, to offer what he did offer. He spoke as one who was able to deliver the goods which he had promised. This seems to me to be the final decision which we have to make. Does he really know what he is talking about? Will it really make a difference if we follow his teachings, if we follow him? Will we find a foundation for life which is different from that found by the person who doesn't go to the trouble? Is he authentic? Is this an authentic offer? Do I dare believe him?